Love, our sacred community. And with me, we have the beautiful Hope Clarke. I've the honour and the pleasure of chatting to Hope all about the wonders of oils. But let me first tell everyone a little bit about Hope. Very interesting story. Love to know more. So, 20 years ago, at the age of 23, Hope, you questioned your church programming. Absolutely. And left a racial separatist cult to marry a black man. Good on you. Navigating tribal rejection and new cultural experiences. Really great stuff. 7 years ago, you began a journey of self-discovery and healing. And you were introduced to doTERRA essential oils and experienced a dramatic shift in your daughter's long-time respiratory infection, expanding your view on holistic healthcare. And you're now a certified essentials oil specialist, has written a book, or you're an author on emotional manager, and built a successful business in doTERRA. Wow. And we're talking about the power and detoxification and vibrational self-tuning with essential oils. We could be here for a long time, and please do come back right at the beginning. Please do come back. So welcome, Hope. Welcome to Shining
Thank
the
you. Thank
Light
you.
on our community. I'd love to know. I'd love to know everything. So let's just start with your story, and really your journey, and your journey with your marriage, but also
hmm
especially with your daughter's respiratory
hmm
infection and how oils has helped that.
hmm Yeah, well, gosh, it's been a life journey of learning and understanding and unfolding and it did start like questioning the programming, questioning what's happening, questioning everything started at an early age when I began to question like, is this really the way the world works? Is this really like is separatism really the way that is right? Um, and that questioning really led me down a path where I said, I'm going to marry this man. And then I was told, don't come back home then. And
Wow.
so we established a marriage that we knew right from the beginning, we're going to figure this out together and we'll build a tribe of our own if we need. And so we started in counseling and started finding our own path right early on because we knew we wanted to succeed in life. And we also knew kind of innately we're responsible for ourselves. Nobody else is responsible for the success or failure of our life. We're responsible for ourselves. And that there's a still quiet voice, that's like feels like it's oceans deep that lives right inside. And that voice, both he recognized it and I internally, like we knew, if nothing else works and nothing else is right, or we don't know the answer to anything else in the whole universe, I know what that quiet voice without words sounds like and feels like. And I know to follow that. And so we've been married 19 years now, have 3 girls, wonderful family, and his adopted family, he was adopted, didn't know his birth family, wonderful family. And my family is a wonderful family too. They just have different beliefs than I chose to follow. So when my daughter the respiratory thing got really serious and it went for months. And this was before I was probably on the early stages of a path to awakening, if you will. But I was still immersed in a lot of beliefs about being right versus wrong and being a good girl and being a good mother and doing whatever everybody told me to do around me. Still trying to be an appropriate person in the community. And so I was giving her a albuterol. And it went on for months. Without a change. And someone brought in these little bottles of doTERRA oils. One was a blend, a respiratory blend, and the other was an immune support blend. And these oils are the cleanest, highest, most amazing thing I've ever smelled. And the bottle opened and it literally like turned my head sideways, like, what is that? And she showed me how to put them on her feet and on her chest and breathe them deeply from her hands. And her sinuses drained out by the next morning. And she was running through the house without wheezing, and her eyes were crystal clear. And I was like, there's my little girl. She's back. And that was the beginning for me I knew immediately whatever this is, I will have this in my house. This is how we will live from now on. And that was 8 years ago. And so that is now our wellness. We are a wellness station. It's what we use for everything in our home.
Love it. I love hearing that when, when you're able to go from your, not your traditional, but your everyday medicines and stuff like that, that people keep telling you, and doctors and everyone keeps telling you, which is actually making us worse.
Making it worse. Yeah.
Yeah, to something that is so natural, and to have such a quick a quick response, which is beautiful. And your daughter now is fine, can breathe fine, and everything.
Gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. So thank you for sharing that. And tell us a little bit more about oils. I mean, I use them myself, but I don't know enough about them. Like what other things can you use doTERRA oils, and what other, what can you use oils for?
Yeah, that was a learning curve for me. I didn't study any of this, and so I dove in and have learned a lot. The company is very educational. I now am certified. I'm a specialist, and was able to learn a lot. So I've learned about, which oils to use for digestive health. Those are usually your herbs. Which oils to use for respiratory health. Those are some of your herbs and your peppermints or your mint oils. Which oils to use to calm the nervous system down. So this would be if you want to sleep well, if you want to calm a panic attack, or if you want to calm down the fight or flight state that happens in our body when we get stressed or nervous or concerned. Those are going to be your floral oils and your tree oils, like cedarwood and frankincense and Douglas fir. Tree oils ground our whole nervous system, like all of the energy in our body. It's like pulls us back into our body. And then let's see, your citrus oils. That's the last group. And those are they activate the frontal lobe of the brain. Citrus oils do. So they immediately make us happy. We're like, oh, you see it every time somebody smells wild orange or lemon or grapefruit directly from their hand, and immediately the corners of their mouth curve up, and they're like, oh, this reminds me of, and there they go down the trail. But it just activated the frontal lobe of the brain. So learning a little bit about the 6 categories of oils suddenly felt like, this is what our grandparents felt like, our great-grandparents felt like. Like, this is how the village has been taking care of the children for thousands of years. It's knowing the herbalist or the apothecary, the medicine person in the village. This was the knowledge they had to leverage plants for the physical health of the body. So we immediately began using them in our bathroom, in our kitchen, first thing in the morning, afternoon, evening, for all the various things we needed. But then as I began, I'm still in this trying to be a good leader in the community space in my life. What began unfolding was an understanding of how beneficial they were for me emotionally, as I was some of that trauma or betrayal or feeling of having to walk away from my whole tribe of who I knew began to surface as a young adult mother, and I didn't want to be vomiting trauma on my kids or be angry with people around me. And so that's when I began to learn about neuroplasticity in the limbic brain and how essential oils clean off the cell receptor sites in our brain so that we can release a negative thought rapidly and replace it with a new one. And how it helps the amygdala, which is where our stored trauma lives, helps it process it, like biologically process it and flush it out of the body. And so I began like, oh my gosh, now I'm using oils internally, and doTERRA is an internal brand. So I'm drinking citrus oils in my water, and I began detoxifying my house because I began to realize I'm up leveling, something's shifting. Like my perceptions, my sensory perceptions started getting heightened. My tuner started hearing things. Like, that's when I began to realize this is why essential oils have always been a part of spiritual practices for thousands of years, because they vibrationally raise your level to the point where you start hearing and understanding and seeing things spiritually. Oh my gosh. My prayer time, my meditation times were just like, And so I'm kind of geeky, so I like understanding the science. So learning which oils were higher in sesquiterpenes, or the compound that helps pass through the blood-brain barrier quick. And those are your frankincense, sandalwood, cedarwood, all
the
of these
ones that
wood
are
oils
used.
that have always been myrrh, that
Yes.
have always been a part of religious ceremonies
Ceremonies.
across continents.
Yes.
And my brain's just
And
like going,
cultures.
and
Yes.
cultures.
And
Right,
cultures.
right. This is the medicine that all of our great great grandparents on any continent
Yes.
have leveraged.
Yes.
And yet here I am, like learning it for the first time, feeling like I am giddy because it felt so empowering for me to know this information and now be able to raise my daughters this way.
Yes.
I was like, oh, everybody needs to know this. Yeah. So I believe that then the next steps in my life, I went on to go through the Avatar course and become a licensed master in the Avatar course, which is all about consciousness management. And I really believe that that's led me to where I am today, which is really living a really thriving, successful life. But I really believe that the what the oils did for me for those years, 5, 6 years of just me marinating my life with them, detoxifying, getting toxic chemicals out of the house and replacing them with essential oils and DIY made clean products, and detoxifying my physical body, my mind, and my home. It paved the way for me to walk a path that's brought me to where I am. So I'm so grateful for oils. I believe everybody should have them in their home.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know, you're the embodiment of it. Now
Yeah.
you can see
Yeah.
that, you know, and you can see and feel, even though we're on the other side of the world,
Yeah.
you can feel your vibration, you
Mm.
know, and
Yeah.
you can
Good.
see how healthy you are. And yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that. And I've got lots and lots of questions, but first one that we just brushed on briefly before we started, and only because, as you know, right now I'm accompanied by two beautiful dogs that are making a little bit of noise. So before we go back to, you know,
Mhm.
using oils for ourselves and raising our vibration and everything, what about animals? Can you use
Yeah.
oils for animals?
Yeah. So not all oils are created equal.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different brands in the industry, and
Mm-hmm.
there is no regulation in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Different people make different ones. Some people's brands are cleaner than others. Um, I definitely would just be very careful about which oils you're using for yourself and your pets, and make sure it's a really clean, well-sourced brand. And then dilute it according to body weight. Tiny dogs, are it's much smaller than our body size, and so they can metabolize much less. And there's a handful of oils that really should be avoided.
Mm-hmm.
Like cats really don't like peppermint oil. It's too strong. Tea tree oil isn't always the safest for the dogs, for their liver to process. And so use lavender or use cedar wood instead. For cats, they love tea tree
Mm-hmm.
and wild orange. And
Mm-hmm.
so the best way to do that is just to diffuse it first in the room
Mm-hmm.
and give them a few days to experience it,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to leave the room or re-enter the room,
Yeah.
and our pets are so tuned in. They will
Yes.
tell us, they will tell
Yes.
you
Yeah.
whether they love it or they don't like
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. They
Yeah.
certainly do. They certainly do. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. It's just, you know, that for anyone out there who is watching this either live or replay,
Yeah.
if you do have pets and you want to know more,
Oh
please
yeah.
put comments in, and we will of course put all of Hope's links in as soon as we finish our conversation, because, you know, it's such a, you know, you can go so deep with these oils. And one of the things
Very.
that you have mentioned, you know, it's nature's healing. All these
Hmm.
plants
Hmm.
that nature gives us, and all our traditional cultures, you know, way back when there's even, you know, the memories of using frankincense and
Hmm.
myrrh and
Yeah.
everything else, and all,
Yeah.
and tea tree. I mean, tea tree and all the other ones. Um, it's just out there in abundance, and I'm so glad and want to honor you for your journey and your path to bringing your knowledge about oils and how we can use them in our lives
Yeah.
instead of going down the road and getting chemicals.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I wanted to share just one of the things I learned about the frequency, the vibrational aspect of them
Yes,
that like
yes,
blew my mind when I read it. It is a book by a doctor, Dr. David Stewart, and he
yes,
shares about Bruce Teneo's machine that measures the vibrational frequency of our body organs and then of oils and different plants. And he said a healthy human body vibrates at about 65 megahertz. Different organs vibrate, a few megahertz off of that, higher or lower. But when we get sick, we lower to about 50 megahertz. Real chronic illness, we may vibrate or hover around 45. Death happens at about 25 megahertz to 0. If you measure canned vegetables, they're 0 megahertz. If you'd measure fresh herbs and fresh vegetables, they're 12 to 15 megahertz. So eating healthy
yes,
is a vibrational raise in your body. And of course,
yes,
organics even higher, right?
yes,
Essential oils measure, basil is the lowest measurement at 62 megahertz. But from there, they go up. Frankincense is 110 megahertz.
yes,
Rose oil is 332 megahertz. And so that for me was astonishingly simple scientific, it's proof
yes,
that when we use them each day, it is a vibrational anointing that helps incrementally raise the vibration of our body.
yes,
So
and
keep them on
everything
the
around
bottoms
us.
of your feet, on your spine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Use them every day
yeah.
and watch what happens.
Love it, love it. I'd like to know more and stuff and things like that. So how can we find out more? I mean, we've got your website, and you've got
Mhm,
a book as well. Now, is your book available
mhm.
on your website
My book's available on Amazon,
on
easy to be
Amazon?
able to download it, purchase or download it, Kindle. And my book is an easy read. It's a 3-step process. It's part of the process I learned as I was kind of breaking through that emotional processing where I was hitting anger and a lot of trauma, and I was hitting some anger episodes and emotional upset. So the book is called Master the Meltdown: 3 Steps to Shift Your State. And it's recognizing that the first thing you've got to do is interrupt the brain signal. Well, first, identify where you are. If you're about to blow, if you're angry or you're feeling hurt, identify where you are, then interrupt the brain signal by doing something that addresses your limbic brain. So that's either going outside and running, that's taking deep breaths, or that's using essential oils that directly clean off those cell receptor sites, and then install a new belief. And it's a simple process, but it's very practical, step by step, with several different stories embedded and some information from Dr. Candace Pert and other neuroscientists about how the limbic brain works with aromatherapy. So it's a simple guide for someone who's feeling the trauma or anger, or they're literally walking through the release of dense past emotions that they're integrating and trying to release without vomiting it on somebody else around them. So that's the book.
Well, thank you. It'll be a very interesting read because again,
Yeah.
like it's interrupting those
Mhm.
those. Sorry, I've just
Yeah.
got one of my beautiful dogs is just
Yeah.
walking out. It's interrupting those patterns,
Yeah.
and replacing
Yeah.
them with other thoughts. So I will look
Yeah.
forward to reading it. And can I ask you, Hope? Like we live in a world of technology.
Mhm.
Unless we make that absolute choice to unplug and go totally off grid in a cave somewhere, we can't get away from technology and Wi-Fi and all the
Mhm.
radio, all the frequencies, all the stuff that's being emitted by power and
Mhm.
3G and 4G and 5G now. Um, if you could use, like, what oils are good for
Mhm.
people who live on computers and phones and everything else
Yeah.
around us?
Yeah, I would say the citrus oils pull out heavy metals out of the body and help speed up the detoxification process. They really aid the liver and the endocrine system. And then the tree oils ground our nervous system. So when we've been interacting with a lot of electromagnetic frequencies, tree oils are going to be really preserving to our cells and are going to help our body rehabilitate and rebound really well. So, and then finally, frankincense. Get frankincense in your body because it is the king of cellular repair everywhere, everywhere. So I take 2 drops under my tongue every day. So I would say citrus oils, tree oils, and frankincense.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. And I must admit,
Yeah.
I asked that for my thing because I'm surrounded by computers
Yeah.
and everything else, but I know
Me
I'm
too.
not the only one.
Nope.
You know, we live in this
Yeah.
world now that life has changed so dramatically since, you know, when we used to use plant
Yeah.
medicine way back in the different
Yeah.
cultures and communities and stuff. Now we live on computers and everything is, you know, pop a pill for
Yeah.
things.
When COVID happened, it was a shock to my body to be on Zoom and on the computer so much.
Yes,
And we began implementing for my kids and myself, every hour we took a 5-minute oil break.
yes.
We don't take Coke breaks or smoke breaks. We
You
take oil
take oil
breaks.
breaks.
Yeah. And you stand up from your desk, you walk outside, or you walk over to the wellness station.
And grab some
You
oil.
grab your oil and you go outside, but you immerse your body with high potent nature. That's
Yes.
what the oils are, is like getting nature in and on your body.
Thank you. Thank you so very,
Yeah.
very, very much for joining us. Just have
Yeah.
one further question, which I have a lot, but just one. So, if you could leave a legacy
Hmm.
for our world, if you could, you know, for all the people who are growing up in this age of technology and everything else, but if you could leave a legacy to help the world, what would that be?
Mm. I hope that I'm doing it. I hope that I'm being it by being vocal and being who I am in the world and teaching my children. But I constantly tell people all the time, um, there are so many ways to be human. There are many, many ways to be human. The biggest thing we have to recognize is beliefs are the only thing that separate any of us. To be compassion for the world, to be love to the world, and to accept, to realize we're here to up level together. The rising tide raises all ships, so let's all rise together in fighting competition. Pushing against resistance doesn't improve things. It de-escalates things. That's probably what I would say.
Thank you ever so much for that. Really, really, really appreciate it. And thank you so much for joining us. And for everyone out there who is listening,
Hmm.
whether it's live or on the replay, if you've got any questions
Hmm.
for Hope, please do put them in the comments and the chats and we will get back to them. And of course, we will be putting
Hmm.
all of Hope's links in the comments very, very soon. So thank
Yeah,
you
thank you.
ever so much, Hope, for joining us. It has been a wonder. Please do come back. I'd just love to
Absolutely.
know more. You know, we could go on to, you know, all the oils for all the different parts that you can use them, like pets and detoxifying
Yeah. Yep.
and cleaning and everything
Yeah.
else. So,
Yeah, anyone can find more info. I'm on Instagram at Pure Hope Life,
yes,
and then I'm on Facebook at Pure Hope Wellness. And you can find my website at Enlightening Hope. I like to blog on that website and share just stories of this is how I use them here, this is what we do here, this is how it's affecting our sleep or various things. So find me there.
love it. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Not a problem. You have a beautiful day.
You too.